Howdy folks. Right, I've done it. I've did what I said I was going to do in my previous vlog. I've traded in the old girl, the old CBR 600F, and I've gone for the FZ6 S2. Still pre-owned but slightly newer. My CBR was a 2003, this is a 2009. And I wanted to use this vlog really to explain some of my reasons for choosing this bike and trading the other one in, and also give you my first opinion, if you like, of the FZ6. Those of you who have watched my other vlogs, and it doesn't take a genius to work it out from my YouTube name, my main bike is a Harley. It's what I ride most of the time. But I wanted my second bike to be very different from the Harley. I wanted to have a different riding experience and be able to throw a little bike about a bit more than I can throw the Harley about, really. So excitement and a bit of fun, a bit of speed was essential. I may decide to go into town on my bike, and if I do go into town I'm going to need luggage. Let me just get past this person. Apologies for the wind. If I do go into town I'm going to need luggage, and maybe put a rack and a back box on it. And I don't think the CBR 600F really suits luggage. I know some people disagree and they're great commuters for some people, but for me personally I don't really want to load a CBR up with luggage. So I wanted a bike that doesn't look odd, bit naughty there, but never mind. I wanted a bike that was a bit of fun, wouldn't look odd with a rack on it and a back box on it, that I could use if I wanted to go into either Birmingham or London or whatever. I like the look of the FZ6. I like the tank on it, the bulbous tank, and what it does is it sort of makes you feel comfortable when you get on the bike. It's almost like you're getting into the bike rather than getting on it. Now I know that sounds funny, but some bikes I've owned, you get on them and you feel like you're just perched on top of it. The thing about a Harley is that you feel like you're part of the bike. You really sort of almost get into it. And it's the same with the FZ6. The tank makes it almost like you're getting into it rather than on it. Can't really explain what I mean, but I'm sure you'll get the gist. The other thing about the tank is it's I believe it's about a 19 litre tank, which basically means you can get somewhere between 200, 220, 30 miles on it. I know there's a vlogger called Chuckles85, so if you haven't subscribed to him, subscribe to him. He gets around 200 miles out of his, so I think that's probably about the average. And that was another factor. If I'm going to get a bike that I'm going to commute on or go into town on, I really don't want to be filling up before I come back. I want to be able to just go down there and come back. So the range on the bike was a factor. The riding position is what I expected. It's the same as you get on Sportsters, and I once owned a Bandit, a naked Bandit, and it was much the same as that. So the riding position is what I expect, upright and in the wind. I put a little fly screen on it because it gave me somewhere to mount the rider scan, but the riding position is not a problem. The height of the seat is quite useful for me because I'm a bit of a short arse. I've got a 30 to 31 leg. That doesn't mean I've got two legs of different lengths, 130, 131. I've got between the two measurements, and I can get my feet flat on the ground. Now, okay, it's never been a big issue when buying a bike for me whether I can get my feet on the ground or not, because that only becomes an issue if you have to stop suddenly, or if you have to manoeuvre your bike, push it around while you're sitting on it. it's very difficult if you're on your tiptoes to get enough purchase to move a bike around sometimes. So, but it's nice on this to be able to get my feet down. So again, the seat height was something quite useful. Again, for Chuckles' benefit, if he's watching this, I know Chuckles mentioned when he was doing a review of his FZ6 that the seat was very slidey. Well, I think they must have addressed that, because this seat isn't slidey at all. It's a slightly different fabric, I believe, to the early seat, so no sliding, quite stable. I'll be honest, there were two things that kind of put me off slightly about getting a Fazer, and that might have eventually put me off if I didn't really take a little test ride and get to know what this bike's about. The first thing is that whenever you read a review of an FZ6, one of the things they will always say is great entry-level bike, and it's very popular. It's a very popular model for people who move on to their first big bike. And I thought, well, is that because it's slow and pedestrian and boring, or, you know, why is it a good entry-level bike? Well, I think I know why, having test-ridden it and ridden this one around a little bit now. It's because it's very, very forgiving. And whether you choose to ride changing gear very quickly, up through the gears, or whether you like revving a bike and bringing it up to the rev limit before you change, this bike will work with you. And one thing this bike is not is boring. I was really, really surprised at how much poke the FZ6 has. And when I was thinking about getting it, my second worry, if you like, was that fact. Is it going to be, compared to the CBR, is this bike going to be a little boring? Is it going to be a little pedestrian? Is it not going to be enough of a change from the Harley? I mean, there's a world of difference between a Harley and a CBR. And you know what? This bike has really surprised me. In fact, it surprised me so much, I went back after I rode it the first time and just checked what the power level difference is between the two bikes, and I think it came out as something like the fact that the CBR was something like 108 brake horsepower, and the Fazer came out at something like 98. So there is a difference. I knew there would be a difference, but trust me, it's not a big difference. This bike moves. It is not boring. It's not pedestrian. You have to give it some revs to get the best out of it, but give it those revs and it bursts into life. Well, that's my review. That's my opinions of this bike. If you're a biker, ride safe. If you're not, be safe, and I'll catch you next time.